Of why effective speaking is important and how to give an effective speech. Quick fun fact, a survey was done in America. The number one fear of Americans is public speaking. Number two is death. So people would rather die than give a public speech. So for those of you that aren't that comfortable with public speaking, you're not the only one. Alright, so I'm going to talk about the nonverbal skills you need to be an effective speaker. Eye contact is a very big nonverbal skill that you need. It helps you connect with the audience. When you're talking to someone looking at the floor, it's not as effective as when you're looking at them in the eyes. So eye contact is really important. Also, your facial expression. If you're trying to be influential and you just have a blank face, and it's not going to be as effective as you would if you were getting into it and whatnot. Composure. You want to stay nice and composed, relaxed the whole time. You don't want to be moving around. Same with your mannerisms. You want to be composed. You want to use hand gestures to emphasize your point. You want to use all this stuff to make your speech more effective. So if you're just standing down here the whole time, it's not going to be as effective. A wise man once told me to keep your hands above your waist when you're speaking. And posture. You want to keep both feet on the floor, straight, with a straight back. If you're slouched over, people are just going to remember that you were slouched over while you were giving your speech, and they're not going to remember so much stuff that you said. Finally, note cards. Note cards are big because you don't have to look at the board all the time. I left mine at home, so I can't really talk about that. However, when you're using your note card, you want to just glance at them. You don't want to read off them the whole time and look up, and then you're going to be looking at your note cards more than you are at the audience. So note cards are very important when you're giving an effective speech.
Next, verbal skills. You want to have a good rate of speech. Make sure your speech is consistent, not too slow, not too fast. Make sure you want to talk about one topic, and then you don't want to be talking really, really fast and then talking really, really slow to make the audience be bored. Next, volume. You want to speak clearly so they understand you, and you have a good voice and have a very good voice projection. Because you don't want to talk really, really quiet so they don't hear you. Next, you want to have good articulation, enunciation. You don't want to have any clutter words like ums, likes, so's, and all that, so they don't get confused about what you're speaking about. And then you want to have intonation. You want to have certain points. You want your voice to have different pitch. Like if you're very emotional towards it, you might want to talk really quietly. Or if you want everybody to get an understanding of what you're saying, you want to talk very loud.
Next is content skills. You want to meet the speech requirements, meaning you want to stay on topic and you want to make sure the 3 main points or how many points you have go with your topic. Also, you want to have a clear thesis with your 3 main points and the reason of why you're giving a speech. You want to have flow in your transitions, so when you transition from one point to the next, you want to make sure it goes together so the audience understands what you're saying. Make sure you engage the audience with your topic, so pick a topic that the audience could relate to and they'll be interested in. You don't want to pick a boring topic because the audience will not be engaged. And the last thing is you want to have a strong conclusion. You want to end off with the audience remembering you. So you want to restate your 3 main points and make it really strong so people remember.
One of the biggest parts of giving an effective speech is the preparation beforehand. Making a formal outline could be very helpful to you, but you have to remember that making an outline could be different for any type of speech that you give, whether it be a group speech as we do here, or a persuasive speech, or a sales speech, or even an elevator speech. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right outline. Also, you want to be familiar with your topic when you're giving your speech, because it'll give you less clutter, and you'll know exactly what you're talking about beforehand. You might not have to use note cards. So use a topic that you're familiar with and that you're passionate about, and make your speech 10 times better. Another big thing is the way your appearance is. You want to make sure that when you go to your speech, that you're dressing appropriately for the speech for your audience. As you can see our speech here, we are dressed casually, and any other speech you dress for, you might want to dress even more casually in a suit or even just dress down.
And when you use visual aids, always it gives you additional things, like if you use images, it gives you creativity towards what you're presenting, even if you could add humor as well. Next. And some of the do's and don'ts you want to use with visual aids, like know your audience, know who you're presenting to. If you're presenting to elementary school students, you don't want to add something that a high school student can relate to. Don't always rely on slides. Don't, as a professor once said, don't turn your back to the audience, look at the slides at all. Proofread, make sure you proofread everything beforehand, before you present, so you know that you don't have errors like this right here. Make sure the slides and images properly match your presentation. And our conclusion, the fun fact, glossophobia is said to be the fear of public speaking, and effective speaking helps us prepare to speak publicly, to present comfortably in front of people we don't know.